Welcome to another episode of From Shadows to Strength podcast. I am your host, Tyson. If you have not already done so, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss another podcast episode. So today, Jay and I are going to be talking about discovering and defining one's purpose. So Jay, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. Now, the quote of the day is from John C. Maxwell, and he says that life is never lack of purpose. It is lack of clarity. So I were to say that to you, Jay, and maybe my audience as well. What do you think that means to you? What do you think lack of clarity would be?
Well, yeah, it's like you can't really find your purpose in life, or you can't really find. Some people feel like they really need that clear path. Like it's got to be a very clear path to lead them to where they think they should be in life. But it's not always like that. It's life isn't a clear path. It's forks in the road, it's U-turns, it's bumps, it's speed bumps, and you got to find, the right path for your own thing. Sometimes you go down the wrong one for a bit. Like there's this quote on Instagram I read, and it basically said, when you get on the wrong train, get off at the very next stop, because it's going to be a long journey back if you stay on that wrong train for a long time. So that was one
I'm
that
familiar
I really
with that
liked.
one. It's a great quote. Great analogy.
Yeah. I mean, it may not be saying it right, but I know that's how it kind of goes and stuff like that. Get off that train at the very next stop, or as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, it's I know it's not verbatim, but the sentiment is exactly that, right? If you don't get off as soon as possible, if you're going the wrong way, the return fare is going to cost you more.
Yeah, the return fare. I like that.
Right. Return fare is going to cost you more, and it's going to take longer to get back to where you were. So we are going to sometimes embark down the wrong path. It's normal. It's kind of what happens in life. It's recognizing when it happens and then make a U-turn, or take the quickest kind of detour around this, get back on the track and on our path to purpose. When you said it very well that, we don't always know, and life isn't always certain. And I think what's really cool is as we grow and as we get older in the world and in life, our purpose does change. I mean, for the longest time, your purpose was to be in the military, right? It was then to be a special forces. And then, and this is something we talked about at length when you retired, is like, okay, so what's your purpose now? Because every man and woman, but, again, this podcast, a lot of our audience is going to be men. Every man needs a purpose. And I think truly that one of the reasons why so many people don't enjoy retirement and sometimes die, maybe because they also take poor care of their health, but they kind of die soon after, is that there's no purpose anymore. They're not working towards anything. There's no fulfillment. And it doesn't mean you need to go get another job. But hobbies and what are you spending your time doing? Like those are all really important things. So you always kind of knew what your purpose was for a long time. Now, why do you think that was?
God, I don't know. It's weird. It's like, how some people become firefighters and people say why, and you're like, I don't know. There was just something about it. There's just something when I saw the Army, whether it was the movies I grew up with, whether it was, I don't know, there was just something in it that was a calling to me. And then there was these certain levels where you had close protection, and then you have special forces, and then you have like the A team, B teams and all this. And there was just something that always drove me to want to be part of those teams, to want to try out, to want to see if I could make the top level. But I don't know what it is, but something called to me to join. So told me this is your destiny or whatever. You're not destined to be an accountant. You know what I mean? You're going to be bored, or something's going to happen to you. And like I said, when I first joined, I signed initially for a 3-year contract. That's all I was going to do, was 3 years. And then I saw more of it, found out about JTF2, found out about special forces and everything else. And something just called to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the word that I was thinking of while you're describing it before you said it, is kind of was your calling.
Yeah.
Right. The first kind of question I was going to ask is what personal experiences or challenges have shaped your understanding of your purpose or life? I think you kind of covered it a little bit there. You were going to be an accountant. You were always really good at math and it just kind of came naturally to you, but you decided, well, no, this isn't something I see myself doing. And you gave the military a 3-year kind of term. I'm going to try this for 3 years. And I'm guessing that something, can, again, like what you said, JTF and all these other things started to, I think, draw you. So was it kind of your calling?
Yeah, it was my calling. And then when I joined the army, I actually like used my math. I joined as an engineer. So I joined, to use explosives, which is all math calculation. I did bridge building and demolition, which is all math calculation. So I used my strength when I joined, because before you join the military, they make you fill out, you kind of do this aptitude test. And they want to see basically how smart you are. And the smartest people become like F-18 pilots and, could be going to the space program. So you do this, you write this big test, and then it basically scores you from, let's say, 1 to 100. And then, if you hit 100, you could be a pilot. If you score up to 75, they say, okay, these are all the places or all the trades you could join. So you could be a firefighter, you could be a medic, you could be combat engineer that I joined, you could all sorts of stuff.
So where were you on that?
I don't remember the score. I just remembered I scored, because of my math knowledge and that, I scored quite high. And they said I could join, down into like intelligence and the think tanks and other stuff. But it wasn't anything that kind of interests me. It's he says, you could also be a combat engineer with your math. And I didn't know much about it. And I looked it all up, went home that night, looked it up, read about it, watched some videos. And I was like, yeah, this kind of interests me. And that's what I went into. And it's a combat arms trade. So it basically means you're on the front line. So we have 3 main combat arms trades. So you have infantry, artillery, and engineers. And they're the ones that are basically first into battle. So
Okay.
because I was joining like just a 3-year contract, I wanted to be first in the battle. I wanted to be front line. I wanted to kind of give it all. I didn't want an office job. I didn't want a think tank job. I wanted to be upfront and personal,
So
upfront and
you didn't
close.
want to play it safe, basically.
No, I wanted the experience. I wanted, and then I thought maybe in 10 years, if I get bored of it or something, or after my 3-year contract, maybe I could just go to an office job, or I could take a think tank job or something like that. But I never did. I joined the front line one, and I stayed the front line my whole 20.
Knowing you all these years is 2020, the more I find out about you, the more I realize you're smarter than you look.
After our first podcast, I don't know how many of my friends texted me like, you know math? You were going to be an accountant? You're the stupidest person I've ever talked to.
No, you're not stupid, bro. You're just special.
They're like, you're a Jim Neanderthal. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely are a Neanderthal when it comes to training. But yeah, I mean, the more I've gotten to know you, the more I realize like there's another layer to you. You're kind of like an onion, bro. The more I peel back the layers, the more I'm like, oh man, this guy's got depth. I mean, with all joking aside, your story, where you've been, what you've been through, and all that stuff is, I don't even think just for the audience, like, and everything I've been through in my life, you inspire me. And just because you've just been able to do a lot, you survived a lot. Actually, not even survived, you've thrived. I think most people, what you've been through would break a hell of a lot of people. But you're in there, and I know you got your struggles. I know you got your days, just like everyone does. But I want to, all joking aside, like you're a solid ass dude, man. And I really respect everything you've been through and how you just continue to grind, because life, sometimes you are literally just grinding.
Yeah, and that's what people struggle with. Is like, they say, oh, why should I feel down in my life? Because look at the World War II vets. They had it worse than me. Look at the Korean vets and the Vietnam vets. So it's like, there's a lot of times I felt bad for being sad or for dealing with PTSD and all that. Like I didn't appreciate me going through those struggles, because I thought, how can I have it when these guys have been to World War II, Korea, Vietnam, like all those wars. But, you know, I've come to learn that a lot of people did have it back then and we just suffered in silence. It was all about suffering in silence and men didn't talk and you just had a couple drinks a night and you push that crap back down into your lower belly to deal with it 10 years from now or something. And I did that for I think 25 years. I was able to push that all down. And it was like the last 3 years of my service, it just exploded and came back up with a rampage. And then talking to the doctors and everything else, and they say that's usually what happens. Usually men will go through a whole bunch of stuff. They'll push it down into the pits of their stomach. And usually when they hit their mid 40s, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, it it breaks out and your mind isn't kind of strong enough anymore to push it down. And
Mhm.
then you have to deal with it. And what I've learned is a lot of guys, that's where a lot of the suicides come later in life. And when they get out, because mind can't push it down anymore, it's coming up with a vengeance. And it just doesn't come up. Last year's doesn't come up. It comes up from childhood.
Yeah. It goes
Like,
all the way back, right? And
yeah,
we're going to touch on this a little later, but you know what? Everything you've just kind of touched upon is about societal expectations, right? We're expected as men to act and behave and do things in a certain manner. Now, I don't think, like, I know my wife doesn't expect me to be cold and calculating and to not express my emotions. But as a man, it is not easy. And I know you know this, it's not easy to be open about how you're feeling. Like, I'm feeling down. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling weak. I'm feeling scared. Right? We all contend with emotions. We all contend with those emotions to some degree or another. But yeah, at a certain point, you cannot push it down anymore in within yourself, and it starts to manifest itself in certain ways until one day it just implodes. Like everything just comes out. And yeah, you're right. You either end up now using a coping mechanism, a vice, something, or you end up eating the barrel of a gun.
yeah. And a lot of veterans have, or the military is very, maybe it's just because the lack of knowledge of it, but the military is very quick to give you pills. They will give you lots of pills that help you sleep, to wake you up in the morning, to keep you calm during the day. And you know what I mean? They love to give you pills. And you saw my drawer, my basket of pills that I had. And I had ones for AM, PM, mid afternoon, mid this, night terrors, everything. I had my collection of pills. And when I was on all those pills, yeah, I was back to normal, but I had no enjoyment in life. There was sometimes I could just sit there and drool on myself in a chair and didn't realize what was going on because it like numbs your brain. It takes all the joy out of your brain. So yes, you feel better, but you feel nothing.
Yeah,
So I could
you're
either
you're not
go,
you're not normal. What I would say
no,
is you were functional,
right.
right? They give you enough to keep you functioning, so that you're not going to go off and go on a rampage and maybe, do something that's going to reflect poorly on them, right? So let's
Yeah.
keep this guy functional, but they are not going to do much, I think, in the way of keeping you or helping you become productive,
No,
helping you
because
become a productive, not functional, but a productive member of society.
yeah, because the pills just keep you kosher. They just keep you, I don't know, like you say, it's just, it was weird. I'm trying to think of the feeling I had when I was on those pills, and I was just like, I guess numb to everything. I didn't get excited about anything, but I didn't get sad. I didn't find joy in anything, but I wasn't depressed either. I was
Just
just
there.
this, yeah, I was just this modeled, and I could have some of the best workouts or go skydiving and have a good time. And I was just like, yeah, it's all right.
You're the beige of humanity.
Exactly. Yeah, this faded beige color that just didn't enjoy anything, and that wasn't
Just
myself.
there,
And
not standing out, just there.
yeah, and everybody could see that, and everybody was like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm told I'm good now because I'm on these pills." And yeah, and then
Good now.
you realize that, and then you try to back off on the pills, but you don't have the skills to cope with when you're going to back off these pills.
Yeah. How do you deal with the emotions that start coming up when you come off? Because the emotions are managing and suppressing those things, numbing you. But now all of a sudden, as men, it's like, hey, deal with your emotions. Yeah, but I've never been taught to. I've never been shown how to, because that's usually a healthy father or mentor's job. When we hit adolescence as men, right? We end up getting kind of our two dogs, right? One dog is going to be, I think I've given you this analogy before, right? One dog is that anger, that aggression that we all get. And the other dog is kind of like your lust and desire. And you have kind of one pulling you at any given time. And if you're not reining that in, if you're not learning how to manage your emotions properly, then your emotions run you. And now you've been doing that. You've been conditioned to do that your whole life, allowing your emotions to run you rather than you controlling them. And now it's like, oh, hey, plus you've been through all this shit now. So deal with it. Learn to deal with it. And it's like, yeah, but I have no tools. I don't have any resources. I don't know where to start. And most men don't know where to start because we're just conditioned to be in this really bad but normal state. And it's like, how do you undo that? Where do you start? And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to start this podcast, because that's what happened when I was sitting in my cell. Because prison is very much, and you and I have talked a lot about this. There's so many similarities between prison and the military and the way they do things, right? I mean, most guys, while I was incarcerated, are just doped up to the max. I mean, you see the pill call in the morning, especially for methadone. It's insane. Like almost half the range when I was in British Columbia in the medium security prison there in Matsqui, half the range, almost half of every range because of the opioid crisis there, is lined up waiting to get their methadone. And man, if one of the guys slept in past and missed the line, they have to wait till later. Like not long, but sometimes 2-3 hours until they can get their fix. And they're like climbing the walls. They're literally climbing the walls, freaking out, yelling at the guards, super volatile because they just want to be numb. They don't want to feel. It's how they've been coping their whole life. And I watch guys do this for their entire sentence. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do this. Like, I'm not going to come out of prison functional citizen. No, I want to be a contributing member of society. I don't just want to be functioning. Like, screw that. I don't want to just exist.
Yeah.
I want to live. I want to experience life. I've screwed up and squandered the majority of my life. I want to make the most of whatever I have left. You know, that was really important. So for me, looking at that, like I had to basically, and then this is where I think men need to start talking about this, is you need to start redefining and aligning yourself with your values. Because we were all raised, I think, with values. I mean, you know, no one's parents are perfect.
Right. Yeah.
But I think fundamentally, our parents try to teach us right from wrong. Right. I had a good mom and a great grandmother. And even though I had some things in my life, all in all, I was still loved. I was still supported. I didn't focus on what was good. I focused on what was bad. And we tend to do that. I think our default mechanism in our brain is like, well, let's not focus on what's good. Let's just harp on what sucks. Because then it allows you to escape accountability, allows you to escape responsibility for what you're doing.
Yeah. It's like so many people that try out for special forces and stuff. And when they don't make it or something, it's like, I had a knee problem, or oh, I had this problem, or, I wasn't supported at home and shit like that, or my unit didn't support me. It's like, it's like you got the weekends, you got all sorts of time. If you want it bad enough, you find the time. Like that old saying says, if there's something you want or need, you will find a way to get it. You'll find a way to make it. You'll find a way to study. I hate using that cliche stuff, but if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way,
No, I mean, that's what happened with you. You really were struggling with the water aspect, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do? Did you just like, oh, well, I'm going to try? What did you do? Tell our listeners.
So I went 3 days a week in the pool for a year for an hour every time. And I just treaded water. And I would have to tread water for like 2 minutes and grab the side. And I did it like an interval training, like you're running on the interval. So I go 2 minutes, 30 seconds rest. And then I would try to go 3 minutes, you know, and then I have to rest. And you just keep going up 4, 5, 6. And then as you get better, and always make sure there's a lifeguard there. Don't do it on your own because, it's a fine line for that mistake. And then I would throw bricks at the bottom of the pool and go down and get it and go down and get it. And the hardest thing, it's so hard to explain to people, but when you can't catch your breath because you've been swimming and you're treading water, just holding your breath for 10 seconds to go down to the bottom of the pool, pick up a brick and come up is the hardest thing to do when you're out of breath. So like, if anybody wants to see, it's like sprint on the treadmill for 30 seconds. And then when you're done sprinting, try to hold your breath for 10 seconds. You can't do it. It's so hard.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. So that's what I had to keep practicing. It's like tread water. And then was out of breath. I had to go down to the bottom, grab that brick, come up. And I did that 3 days a week, sometimes 4 for a year. For a solid year, it took me to learn that technique, and walking on the bottom of the pool, holding the brick and, just ins and outs, jumping ins and outs and turning around in the circle in the deep end because you get disoriented. So as you kind of come up at that spin, then you have to say, okay, where's the surface? Where's the bottom? I have to go get the red brick, not the green one, not the blue. I got to make sure it's the red. So I have to distinguish colors underwater and grab the right one. So you have to just use your mind to focus on colors and this and that and everything you're supposed to do. And yeah, I did that for a year, just nonstop. Like I said in the other podcast, all you could smell out of my urine was chlorine because I swallowed so much water, practicing. And thank God I told the lifeguard before I went in, I said, hey, this is what I'll be training on. And he's like, okay, yeah. And then he would have the pole with him. Sometimes he had to hook me with the pole and pull me out because it's a fine line where you just, I got an extra 5 seconds in me. No, I don't. I was out.
And this is actually kind of it's perfect that you talked about the lifeguard, because this is what again, us as men have to understand. Trying to go about doing this on our own, it usually is not going to be successful. We need support. We need help. We need guidance, because there's going to be times where we're going to get disoriented. We're going to maybe feel like we're drowning.
Yeah.
Maybe not literally, but figuratively, we're going to be feeling like we're drowning. And it's like having that support system, having that friend, that coach, that mentor, somebody there to pull you up. Because the thing is a person like that is going to provide the right amount of empathy and support that's needed, but they're not going to sympathize with you. And what I mean by this is that empathy and sympathy, in the sense that sympathy would be someone jumping in the water only to start drowning with you. You don't need that. You don't need someone drowning with you. You need someone who's in a position to help pull you out. Someone who knows the waters, who's an expert in that, has lived that. And that's where I think so many men struggle, is where we hold it inside. We're like, well, I'll figure this out on my own. Look, the work has to be done by you. Absolutely. But when I was on my road to redemption, I had my therapist that I saw. I had programs I had to do. I had an Aboriginal elder through my very first program that I kind of worked with, and he really helped give me a lot of good guiding principles. So many people. And again, we'll touch on this a little bit later, but again, not to get too far off topic, but for us as men, it's so important that we redefine and align who you are with your values, your interests, your passions. Rediscover what you're passionate about. I mean, that's how I got back into training. And then coaching and then mentoring. Is I knew the minute the day I stepped foot into the YMCA across the street from my high school back in 1997, my God, I feel like I'm getting old now. I feel like I'm dating myself. When I stepped into that gym, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Like a month in, I was like, I just want to be at the gym. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't really know a lot about personal training. I was still just a senior in high school. But I'm like, this is what I want to do. That was my passion. It's what I felt I knew. I felt authentic.
Yeah.
It's who I was. I think the gym, even though I've struggled there and I've struggled so much in life, much like I think all of us have, I always felt authentic in the gym. Not natural, Jay. I know what you're going to say. You're not natty, Tyson, but like it's about that. I was authentic there. It's what I knew. It's what I loved. It's what I spent countless hours reading Flex magazine and muscular development and men's health and what was it? Muscle and fitness. Like I had every type of magazine at home and I read that front to back. And I think I have forgotten more than I know from all that I've read, but man, did I love it.
Yeah. And it was like one of my good friends was just saying last week, it was like, just the way she said it, she's like, surround yourself with people that are like you, the same goals as you and everything, and you'll strive. And that's I think what the gym was for me and you. It's people with mine and your kind of mindset at the gym, training, understanding it's going to take years. You got to do a little bit more all the time. So like they say, I've read on Instagram before, it's like if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're surrounded by fat people, you're going to get fat. If you're surrounded with lazy people, you're going to get lazy. But if you surround yourself with active go-getters, well, then you're going to be a go-getter as well. So it's.
Surround yourself with losers, you'll be a loser. Surround yourself by millionaires, you'll be the next millionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's just, it's how you manifest through who you surround yourself with, right? What you think about, what you focus on, right? Like vision boards are so powerful. I wish people understood that. My laptop screen changes every few months because I'm always working to towards goals, almost like in quarterly. And of course, there's certain parts of that vision board that might stay the same for a year or 2 years as I'm working towards a very large goal. But my wife always updates my vision board on my laptop so that every time I open it, I take a second and I look at it. What am I working towards? What do I want to manifest, right? Visualize. Where do I want to see myself in the next 4 months 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 5 years? Where do I want to be? Who do I need around me? And you're right. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room.
It's funny, those goals you're saying, this is really cheesy, but when I was going for special forces, they had pictures of special forces guys on the internet. And of course, they're all in black. You don't see their face. Well, I printed that and I hung it up on my locker. So it's like every day I'd open the locker, I'd see that picture, And then when we were young, my older brother was saving up to buy his motorcycle. And he cut out this little picture of a motorcycle and he stuck it on his bank card. So every time he went to use his bank card, he looked and he saw the picture of the motorcycle on his bank card. He's like, do I really need to buy what I'm going to buy because I'm saving for my motorcycle? And it was just cheesy stuff we did back then, but it worked. It actually worked,
Trying to see if I can make a kind of visual. Yeah. So my wife has something here, fortunately, and this will work. So what you're talking about, the picture of the special forces guy, the special ops guy that you took. So the same thing happened when I was in prison, and I've talked about this. Food was my coping mechanism. I put on a lot of weight. I went from being in relatively good shape to a solid but fat, pudgy, 280 pounds.
Damn.
And when I saw myself in the mirror, because you don't have mirrors in prison.
Yeah.
You have like little, and in the military, it's the same thing. You have like stainless steel kind of mirrors.
Not breaking mirrors or whatever. Yeah.
Basically, you need something that inmates can't break and turn into a weapon.
Yeah.
So you don't have a big mirror to see your reflection unless it's like a window. And then that's different. And I'm never not without clothes. I always have clothes on. So in my clothes, I look like a very large, imposing, almost like a football player. So the lie I could tell to myself was, oh yeah, I'm still big. I still lift weights. But in reality, and I knew this deep down, but in reality, I was definitely not in good shape. And I was very ashamed of what I had allowed myself to become. And when I saw myself in that mirror, in that PFE, the first mirror I'd seen myself in about 2.5 years. And I was like, oh, what happened to you, you fat ass? Right? Put the fork down. So I finished the food in the PFE because I ordered a whole bunch of junk food, which I definitely didn't need. So I finished the food because I didn't want to throw anything out. My mom, flew down from BC to come see me, sent money inside for me to be able to order this food. So we ate it all and I got to work. And one of the first things I did is I went to one of my bodybuilding magazines, and our cell doors, there's a window so the guards can see in Max. So you have a big, heavy steel door that shuts. So when you're wanting a bit of privacy, right, when you want to use the bathroom, as long as the guards aren't passing, you're allowed to have like almost like a little square piece of cardboard that you can kind of angle, and you have to really make sure it's not too thick. So you can angle and it'll sit in the little frame of this window.
Oh, okay.
So you can give yourself a little privacy, right? And when that's up, then when inmates come to maybe see you, Tyson's using the washroom. So they kind of go and come back until that's down. So what I had on mine is I cut out a guy who had a crazy 6-pack, but I cut his head, and I just, his body is what I attached to this thing. And I put that up there as I wanted it to be that eventually when someone looked in, I'd be looking exactly like that person. So I wanted to visualize and manifest that. So for 6 months, I was on, like, the workouts I put myself through was definite punishment. It was a little sadistic, but I went from 280 down to 209, natty, don't even. and was working in the kitchen, fortunately, so I had access to pretty decent food. And I was just beating my ass hard with hard training sessions, cardio sessions, 7 days a week. I was probably going way too hard, but I had so much in me that I needed to get out. And what I felt like I had to kind of redeem myself from falling that far off. And I just went so hard for 6 months and went from like a 42, wearing a 42 pant down to a 32.
Well, how'd you get a picture of me, though?
Where's your abs?
I left them back in my... They didn't
I was thinking, I was like, oh man, someone's lying to themselves right now,
When I hit the 50s, my abs are like, yeah, I'm out. Like,
yeah,
you can be
we're
thin,
good.
But we're not going to pop out.
What do you call it? Bullet? What do you call it again? You always say
it's like a bullet stopper. It's like a bulletproof vest,
A bulletproof vest, yeah. Well, we'll call it that, Jim. I call it insulation for your strong triceps. That's why you always outdo me on triceps. It's just extra fuel for you on the days where I kind of gas out because I don't have enough body fat to sustain it.
Exactly.
That's my excuse.
You need a little bit of reserve in there, just in case you get hungry, just in case, you miss a meal.
Bro, you got more than a little bit of reserve. No. Anyways, so going into our second part here, in what ways do you feel discovering your why, right? So that's really important when it comes to having a purpose, is your why and influencing your decisions and your relationships.
So, like, why did I stay in the military longer afterwards?
Yeah, like, so, like with your purpose, your purpose when you were at the point, well, I'm not going to be an accountant. I'm going to go into the military. I'm going to try 3 years. And then you went further and made a career out of it, right? And you didn't choose an easy road. You chose arguably the hardest road that you can possibly choose in the Canadian military. So again, I think a reason why you did that is you had a strong why.
Yeah, September 11th.
How did your why influence your decisions? I know part of it's like childhood trauma, but what else is it?
September 11th. Yeah, I watched it on TV. So I joined 96. You know what I mean? I was coming up to almost my renewal, so I could renew my contract or get out, type thing. And I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a career-long decision at that time. And then September 11th happened. I watched it on TV and I saw everything. And then back then it was all about, we are under attack now, and they're coming for Canada, Britain, the States, and we're all going to war. And I signed up right away, and I was like, I want combat. I want to show them that they're not going to attack us. You know what I mean? And I was right into it. And I signed that contract, and then I started training for close protection and special forces and the whole 9 yards.
Can you just, I'm sure you mentioned it now, this is the second time. Can you just disclose to our audience or tell our audience, what is close protection? I know what it is. You've told me what it is, but just for them to understand what that is.
So close protection it's a unit. It used to only belong to the military police, but then when Afghanistan started up, it expanded to basically any combat arms trade. And what that is you're basically a bodyguard for the high ranking generals and stuff like that and intelligence people who go overseas. So not just in Afghanistan, but all over the world, if they're going to meet other people and they're going to maybe a place where, they could be harmed. Terrorists find out that, oh, all these high up generals are going to meet in this one area. They could maybe try and kill them all. So it's basically a protection force, a bodyguard force for the high ranking generals. Yeah. So
You also did security for prime ministers as well, right?
Yeah, so the close protection force would go off with him as well. The RCMP take care of his personal right with him protection. And then they would use us to his hotel room, his office, his car, stuff like that. So, but yeah, they were trying to expand us, get more experience, but that was also a selection process that you had to go through and get picked up and get your name called and do good enough. So that's where I went first before I went to the JTF2 Special Forces. I did close protection first.
Well, thanks for sharing. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And then, but September 11th was the deciding factor for me, 100%.
So that was your why.
Yeah. And back then there was, God, maybe a little bit of internet and stuff like that, but we were glued to the TV.
I remember radio and TV for that day, the week after, everyone was just glued to it. It was everywhere.
Yeah. It was on 24/7. They didn't talk about anything else. It was just all September 11th and how we are kind of getting worked up to go to war and who's going to deploy first. It was from then on, it was like go time. Yeah.
I think anyone that's old enough to remember that date can remember exactly where they were when they heard what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I can.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that didn't know where they were or whatever. And then one of my new friends now I talk to wasn't even born yet. And to me, it's just amazing. It's like, wow, you didn't even see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're at that age now where a lot of those people we're meeting now, younger people in the gym, they never even saw September 11th and stuff like that. So, and it was
They only know about it because of history.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
it was such a huge impact on our lives back then.
Well, thanks for sharing your why. I mean, I think that's important for people to understand. And it's an important part for men who've lost their purpose, who've lost maybe the clarity of like, I know I want different, but why? What's the reason why? What am I doing this for? Because a lot of men, it could be you want to be a better father figure, a better leader for your family. Maybe you want to start addressing, like for myself, I'll give my example. It started with wanting to get my freedom. But the thing is, my freedom wasn't guaranteed. Because when you're serving life in prison, well, I had a life sentence with an eligibility at 10 years. But that doesn't mean you're going to do just 10 years. Now, in my mind, I had made a kind of a commitment to myself, like you're going to get out at 10 years. I stood firm on it. I'm not giving them a day. I'm going to do everything I can to not give them a day more. So I kind of had my why, but it wasn't a guaranteed why. And the more time I did and kind of the more I started to look after myself and better myself, the more I realized that my why had to be a bit more specific. I had to get a bit more specific in my why. So I started to look at, okay, well, what if I don't get my parole? Let's go with a worst case scenario here. So what if I don't get my parole? What's that going to do to me? Who do I need to be in order to be able to get rejected? Because where I was when I discovered my why, if you had told me your parole is denied, let's say within the first 2-3 years of my incarceration, I wouldn't have handled that. Right? I would have lost my shit. So I had to then think, okay, so the other thing I need to do then is I need to start finding some peace in order for me to be able to not just survive the process, but almost embrace the process ahead. So I started to look at addressing and letting go of the past. Because a big part of why I was where I was was because of what I had allowed myself to do, because I had compromised my morals and my values. And that is so important when it comes to having your purpose. Because if you don't have a firm stance on who you are, if you don't have a firm no, right? Being able to say no when someone asking you to do the wrong thing, well, then you don't have a firm purpose, because they're very closely linked. So I had to start addressing all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Right? The past doesn't define who I am. I knew, a part of me knew that I was not a murderer. And I'm not a criminal. I was kind of a dumbass who made a poor choice, bad decision, but that doesn't have to define me for the rest of my life. And I think as men, we need to acknowledge that. Like, just because you messed up, just because you royally messed up, that doesn't mean that's who you are. If you address it, you can change it. Like, I mean, when you met me, did you ever assume of what I had done? Did you ever think, oh yeah, that guy looks like he's a former inmate?
No, I don't actually. I think for the first, I think it was like 6, 7 months. Me and you knew each other before you start getting deep with someone. And yeah, I just always thought you were a personal trainer. I thought you were a bouncer at the beginning, and then got into personal training, and then got all educated and became a full-time personal trainer. That's all I thought you were at the one for like first 6, 7 months. And then you told me your story. I was like, damn. It's like never would have put money on that. Never would have guessed it at all, you know?
And that's, like, I'm not asking this for validation. I'm just trying to show our audience that a lot of the time, the things that we hate ourselves for and that we judge ourselves so harshly for, like, I was judged and sentenced by my peers, but no one's judged me more harshly than I've judged and hated myself. So unless you learn to let that go and kind of rediscover your why and start building back up to that, then that's where you're going to remain. And that's all you're ever going to see yourself as. And then that's how other people are going to perceive you as. But if you can learn to let something go, then the person that you are, that identity shift, well, now you can become the person you're always meant to be. Now you can start kind of walking into who you were always meant to be. Right? You're able to find your true authentic self.
And at first too, maybe it was too much TV or something, but I expected you to have a teardrop tattoo on your face, or a neck tattoo on the side, or, and even some on your knuckles that says jailbird or something. I don't know. Maybe just too much TV, but that's what I always expected someone who's done that much time to look like.
Yeah, the prison tatties, man. Prison tatties.
Prison
I was actually always proud that I never got a prison tat, because that's something that most lifers will get, and usually they're given it for free, because there's tattoo artists in there that are actually pretty good, and they'll usually give lifers either like a really cheap price, depending on how big it is, because there's currency, canteen is currency in prison, or sometimes you'll get it for free, right? Depending on your who you know and whatever. And I was just like, no, I'm not getting marked. I'm not getting ink in here. I'm not getting inked in here, because that, it's like almost carving your name into your desk in prison, or in your cell in prison. Like, I never did that in any prison, because it's not that I wasn't there, but I'm never going to come back there. So I refuse to leave my name anywhere in prison. That is not who I am. I'm just passing through. Yeah. That's all this is. I'm just passing through. I'm a temporary residence. This is not my permanent home. It was my temporary home. Right. So that is I think so important for guys to understand when it comes to that. The other thing I want to touch on, and this kind of goes back just before we got into this topic, you talked about how if you're the smartest guy in the room or whatever, your circle influences who you are. And you expected that I was in prison, I'm going to look a certain way. And this is what I found always so funny. This always resides in me, and I've shared this before, and I think I've talked about it with you, and not on the podcast, but I want to share this with our listeners. is when prison guards come into the prison, a lot of them might have 1 or 2 tattoos or no tattoos. They come in pretty clean cut, pretty clean shaven, almost like, because a lot of them wanted to be police officers, I think, but they, failed to make it in there. So they go for the federal prison security guard, because it's a good pay, right? Good benefits. You're good, right? Very similar to police work. And within 6 months to a year, if people don't think that your environment doesn't impact you, those guards went from being minimally tattooed or tattoo free to most of them having from their knuckles to their neck tattooed.
Okay.
So if you were to take the correctional officer out of his correctional clothes, put him in the inmate wear that we wear, I promise you, you would not be able to tell the correctional officer apart from the inmate. Because not only was their physical appearance that way, but even the way they talked. Right? It became, they went from kind of talking like a normal, I don't want to say educated, and I'm not saying correctional officers aren't educated or they're dumb, but like they carry themselves decently, but then they start talking like inmates. F this, F that, I'm listening to these correctional officers, and I'm like, these guys are so closely resembling us. So again, for people out there, be careful of what circle, of what environment you put yourself into, because you are one, but they are many. And the many will always change the few.
Yeah. And especially now, there's a new thing in the military, which is a big problem. It's now that weed is legal. I mean, so many guys at the end of the day now, instead of addressing any stress and addressing any whatever, I mean, gummies. Like gummies, I swear to God, on some of the bases, and probably the biggest gummy, like they have like multiple gummy stores just in Pembroke and Petawawa and everything, because they sell so many to the Army guys. Because the Army guys come out of the bush or come out of an exercise and they're stressed or whatever from tours. They just pop the gummies and then they don't have to deal with anything. And some guys are taking gummies every night just to sleep and just to help them. Some guys are taking gummies during the day, which you're not supposed to, but they'll take a small little bit just to, mellow them out through the day and stuff like that. And I think it's just going to get worse because you're not going to, like you say, if you don't look to surround yourself with people like you or motivated people or something, if you just gummy yourself every night with everybody else in the shacks or everybody else at home, you're just going to fall into that pit,
Yeah. Like they're there. So like, instead of escaping, and you're right, like instead of escaping it through weed, talk about it with your boys in the military, discuss it, let it go. Right. That's why I think journaling is so effective. Again, we'll talk about this maybe a little bit later. Like, process things. Stop repressing. Start processing.
And it's
funny. I thought you were saying dummies because of weed.
No, gummies.
And I was like, yeah, it's called smoke. And I thought you were saying dummies. I'm like, yeah, that dummies with weed. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
It's called smoking dope, not smoking smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, gummies. Yeah, absolutely. It's easy access.
And I don't want people to think it's easy. Like talking for a man, like especially us, and it's the hardest thing to do. Like to confine in one person or a good friend and actually start talking that and not just want to joke about stuff and just want to be like turn your brain off. But talking is the hardest thing. Like I'm not trying to sit here and then tell everybody it's so easy, because if it was easy, I would have did it. I wouldn't have had my break. I wouldn't have had my fucking almost being hospitalized and everything else,
You wouldn't have your drawer full of functional medicine.
Exactly. So, and people think you need to talk to a lot of people. You don't. You just need that one person that you can talk to and they can talk to. It just has to be that one person. And as long as you guys can talk to each other and just have 7 minutes, that thing on Instagram, all it takes is 7-8 minutes of talking to somebody that can fix you sometimes. Well, you just need that one 7-8 minute person that you can talk to. That'll save you so much stress and bad ways way in the future, And it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, go find that grin and talk." But it's brutally hard, especially for anybody nowadays to open up. But if you can finally start opening up, if anybody out there is listening to me and Tyson, the one thing I can tell you is please just talk to one person, talk to them, and you will find it'll just make such a huge difference. Be active, talk to that person, try to eat healthy, surround yourself with people that are in the same mindset as you that are fixing themselves. And, that's why I think that's why AA does so well and all those other things, because it's alcoholics who know about being an alcoholic that want to get sober and they're around everybody else who wants to get sober. And so everybody talks about, their this struggles, and people learn. And sometimes it works and, people kick it. Sometimes it doesn't. But that's life. I think that's why those classes and therapy and stuff like that does well. And I never believed in therapy. You talked to me about therapy 10 years ago, I would have laughed at you. I would have said therapy's for weak people. Therapy's for the people who can't handle it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Therapy's
exactly.
for people
Yeah.
who don't have a strong mind. Therapy's for all this weak.
Societal expectations, right? For as men, that's how we were raised. That's how we've been kind of ingrained, that thought process. That's for the weak. And it's funny. I didn't realize I was mentoring guys. And this is why I've really started to take a turn towards mentorship and coaching. Not that I don't love personal training. I'm so fortunate that I got the opportunity to do it. But I realized that my true passion has always actually been what I started when I was in prison. Because in prison, after I started to really work on addressing my issues and lack of a better term, healing from my shit, guys saw that. Guys saw that I walked with my head up, that I carried myself differently from everyone else. So they would come like, dude, like what are you doing? How are you able to be where you are right now, given where you are right now? Why aren't you angry and miserable and like all the other lifers in here? And then I'd share a little bit, and then you're right, like 10 minutes, and then the guy just starts opening up. And it's they would come into my cell angry and stressed, and within sometimes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes I've had 2-hour conversations, or sometimes just listening, and the guy would leave my cell feeling right as rain. And suicide happens in prison. So I always think, like, if I just helped one dude in there to help kind of reset where they are, it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was a lot of army guys too, especially overseas, and that things weren't working out. They'd take their pistol, and we had a few guys go back to the back area of the camp and then shoot themselves. And it's like maybe he just didn't have that one person to talk to, or it was too much or whatever. But it was like, yeah, you have that one person that you could talk to, which I was lucky enough to find, and you were lucky enough to find, and stuff like that. And then they save you. They bring you back from the brink.
So the third part, now we've covered some of this, but let's touch on some points. The third question I have for you, for our audience, and for me to answer as well, is how can men differentiate between societal expectations and their authentic desires when seeking their purpose?
What? Yeah, it's a good one. I know Instagram is it's like a positive and a negative.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like Instagram can educate you, teach you, show you stuff, but the bull crap on Instagram of everybody having the most glamorous life, and all you need to do is this and be happy. All you need is
drive this, own this, wear this, do this.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have it all. That's the societal expectations, kind of, right?
Yeah. You don't need therapy. Just do this thing, or invest in some Bitcoin, or do this and you'll be a rich millionaire, and then you won't have any problems.
No, you're just going to be a millionaire with the same problems, right? I always kind of tell the young guys that I'm working with, and a lot of the time when I'm talking to my younger audience, when I'm doing social media posts, one I actually just did recently was telling young guys, okay, like if you want to build a life where you can own a beautiful house and have a beautiful car, who do you want to be in that car? Who do you want to be living in that house? And more importantly, because this is something money can't buy, who do you want to have living with you in that house and in that car? Money can't buy you a happy relationship. It can attract someone for sure, right? But you're gonna be attracting the wrong person, because they're gonna be after you for what you can give them in the material sense, not what you can give them in the emotional and mental support sense, in the love sense, and fundamentally what would be a healthy relationship. So you have to be really, really cautious as men, as young men, as we develop these things, as we're looking at this life we want to create for ourselves because of the gram or because of TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this guy has this following. The amount of followers does not mean shit.
Yeah.
Right? I have less followers on TikTok, but I get more engagement from my audience than I do on Instagram. Because some people, they're not there to support you. They're just there to see you fail. So what are you choosing to focus on? And that's where I think for when it comes to societal expectations, what we're perceived to want to have and wanting to be authentic, right? When it comes to finding your purpose, that's where self-reflection is key. It's looking at your external influences, right? Your external pressure. So again, what society thinks where you should live, what you should drive, what you should wear, how fit you should be, right? And what your internal identity is, who you really are, your authentic self. And it's never too late to change it, right? I gave the 10,000 hour rule, right? You're familiar with the 10,000 hour rule. In order for you to get good at the pool, you had to dedicate what?
Yeah, 10,000 hours probably.
10,000 hours. But a lot of the time, we are dedicating 10,000 hours to doing the wrong thing, which means we become proficient at doing the wrong thing. So it's okay. 10,000 hours is actually I think it's 400 and I think it was 16 days is what I calculated it out to be. So it's really a little over a year of your life. It's not that much time in the grand scheme of things. I look at prison gave me 86 or 87,000 hours in the 10 years. So people wonder, oh, Tyson, you've really developed your identity. Yeah, I invested 87,000 hours into creating who I am today. That's why I don't need motivation. I don't need discipline. I created the identity that gave me my freedom. I had to work on it every single day, whether I wanted to or not. And you wonder why you're struggling to count calories and lose your body fat and get better in your life? Because you're relying on motivation and discipline to get you there. You haven't actually realized, no, I got to create the identity. I got to start identifying as that. The thing is, your mind would rather stay in the shit where it currently is, because becoming a new person, becoming a better version of yourself, what a lot of people don't realize, that's a threat. Because there's a lot of unknown factors that come with it. And now
Yeah.
Let's keep you right where you are. It might not be great, but it's comfortable. It's familiar. You know it.
It's easy.
It's
It's easy to live at home your whole life. Why move out?
Yeah.
It's easy to live at home. Why go for that promotion? It's just more work, more supervision, more whatever. Why not just stay a low-level guy your whole life? Because it's easy, you know?
Or the young cats, and we talked about this, right? The young cats that are pulling up in their Mercedes, AMGs and their BMWs and stuff like that. And like, I can't afford a house. Yeah, no shit. Dude, you have a $1,300 a month car payment, not including gas, not including insurance. You walk in with new clothes every week almost.
Yeah.
You've got $700 headphones because your priorities are off. Because you're trying to be the version of Instagram rather than who you were supposed to be. You can get those things, but not now.
Why? Exactly. It's like you make fun of me all the time for wearing the free Popeye shirts I get from buying protein. But it's like,
Yeah, of course.
but it's like some people, it's like, I got this and new that. It's like, what do you got? I'm wearing a free Popeye shirt. It's like, because I'd rather save that money, or I'd rather have the important things, like have your nest egg first, enough to live on, pay your bills, whatever. And then as you move up in life and, you save, you make more money and stuff like that, then, you can get other stuff. But yeah, like you say, everybody wants everything now. They want the fancy car, the clothes, the shoes, his phone, and it doesn't make you happy. Like my phone's 4 years old, works fine. I like it, works good. You know what I mean? No issues. My truck's a 2019. As long as I do the maintenance on it, clean it, do whatever I need, works fine. Like I don't need the newest and greatest thing. I find people think that I was like that when I was younger too. I thought if I had the newest car, newest clothes, whatever, I'd be happy. I thought that's all I need to be happy. And it doesn't make you happy. You're happy for about what, 3-4 days, and then you're right back to yourself. So
It's that dopamine. It's that
yeah.
validation. It's what all the young guys are chasing, right? Oh, I feel good. I feel good. Oh, now I need something new. Like if you just took a minute every day, took the first, this is why I say win the first hour of your day. You win the first hour of your day, you win the day. And then you win at life because you make the most of every day. Don't squander it. Right? Take time to meditate, to be practicing some gratitude. Go exercise. Delay gratification. Put your phone down. Don't touch your phone for the first hour. Right? Take time. Get some light in your eyes. I do light therapy because I'm up at the crack. I'm up at 3:30 to 4 o'clock during the weekday. So I don't, during the winter months, I ain't getting sunlight. So I got my light therapy. I got all these things in place in order to win the first hour. Guys, you've done a lot. Yeah, because I friggin' have a plan of action. I schedule all that stuff like I schedule my training sessions with my clients. Everything I do in life, I live with intent. I talk about training with intent. The reason why intent is so important at the gym, because if you can train with intent, if you can lift with intent, it carries over into life because you need to live with intent. Stop winging shit. You are where you are because you'd rather doom scroll than to prioritize your self-care.
Yeah.
That is why so many people don't have an idea of what their authentic self is, because their authentic self is tied into what they swipe up for. Oh, I like this, bookmark. I'll come back to it later. Bookmark. I'll come back to this later. Only to never understand what they've been bookmarking, what they've been looking at, and to do anything about it. To take action from the posts that are actually maybe inspiring or motivating them to want to do something. Just easier to scroll.
Yeah,
Like put the phone down. Stop that.
Yeah, find the newest restaurant, the newest vacation spot, the newest click.
Hey, whoa! I like restaurants, bro. Now I'm triggered.
I know, but it's like that's all they want to do is go to the most expensive restaurants. And they think if they have a real expensive meal. Sometimes I have more fun when I'm volunteering at the farm. I go for a horseback ride, and then I have a local burger at the farm guy who sells the meat right off his farm right there. And it's, to me, it's some of the funnest days. It's just peace. Everything's calm. Everything's quiet. It's just, you don't need all the hustle and bustle that whether I pay $12 for a hamburger or I go to the most fancy restaurant and drop, a couple $100. It's not that. It's the company. It's the peace around you. It's who you're there with, who supports you and everything. That's what's going to make you happy. All you're going to do, go home. If you weren't happy at that restaurant with the person you're with, you're just going to go home with a bill. All you're going to go home with is a bill. And life is just about bills, bills, bills. You can either get more bills or you can get rid of less bills and have more peace. And I am telling people that are listening, always go for more peace. It'll help you out so much in life. Because if you go for all the fancy bills, yeah, you're going to feel great. But that big stack of bills is going to be sitting in front of you and you're going to have to deal with it. And the peace will be gone, and that's all you'll be looking for.
And you're always going to be looking over your shoulder, right? The bill collector, right? Trying to pay that down, trying to better your situation, trying to better your circumstance. Instead of, and that's why when I take on clients with mentoring, it's actually trying to find things to remove, not give them. I don't want to give them more to do. They probably already have enough on their plate. It's like, how do I get you doing less and then doing better quality of what you need to do? Right? What are you currently doing that you need to do better? and what can you minimize in order for you to be able to focus on what you need to do better of to benefit yourself. And bills, yeah, that's a great one. Minimize subscriptions. Stop eating out so much. Start to meal prep, right? Find cheaper, funner alternatives that you can still have fun. Because you're absolutely right. Happiness, to find real happiness, and this is why I was able to have good, quote unquote, time in prison, is I found my peace in there. When you have peace, you have happiness.
Yeah.
And that all resides with, right? Peace is going to come from having purpose. It's going to come from knowing your why. And then you're happy. And now you have the right loop. You keep everything within that loop and you're just in a really good place. And it almost is a protective barrier from the wrong people coming in. Yeah. And the one last part of that is making sure you're setting boundaries. Right? We need to make sure we hold our...
Oh yeah, big time. Big time.
A lot of people don't realize no, it's a full sentence. One word. No.
Yeah.
No further explanation is required. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And that's the thing, right? Is we're often compelled, right? When someone's like, "Hey, can you do this?" Look, if it's encroaching on your peace, no.
It's no, not interested. It's not me.
Why? Just no. Yeah. But we give the reason. We feel like we need to justify because we're afraid of. And look, if someone's asking you to do the wrong thing, you shouldn't even need to have to justify it because you shouldn't want that person in your life. But we're so afraid of losing their support or their friendship or their love. Now, if they're asking you to do something you shouldn't be doing, then it's a hard no. And hopefully that pushes that person out of your life because that's not a person you need right now.
Small circle. That small friendship circle. It's probably the best advice I ever learned, all that sort of stuff. The people who have the same mindset as you, the same fitness goals, the same workout goals, the same, don't want to blow all their money or go to a fancy restaurant every weekend and everything else. The ones that are fine with doing anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be active. It doesn't have to be spending money. It's just, everybody needs that one hobby. Yes, don't take as what I'm saying is never spend any money. I have my one hobby that I love to do and I spend money on it because I love it. But I can't have 7 hobbies. Like there's people out there that want a sled, they want a 4-wheeler, they want a fancy car, they want a motorcycle, they want a cruiser. It's like you can't do it all. You can't. And I know life sucks and we all want to do everything, but you can't. But find that one hobby that brings life and happiness into your soul and everything else and do that one hobby. And if you have one in the summer and one in the winter, bonus, then it gets you out of the house in the winter. And mine's just a spring, summer, fall hobby and I'm miserable all winter.
Yeah, I know that you're so hard to deal with. I got to double my rates for you during the winter. You're a pain in the ass to deal with during that time. But no, you know what, Jay, you're absolutely right. So guys, protect your peace. Take this from a guy, former special forces, right? Best of the best, from someone like myself, former inmate. We've both been in arguably, right, the 2 probably most uncomfortable situations you can be in as a man in life, whether you're in a war zone or in prison. Protect your peace at all costs. Because that is something you can't put a price on, but it can cost you everything.
Oh yeah, it almost cost me my life, 100%. Like
both of us.
I have no shame in saying it. I was almost hospitalized, almost cost me my life, the whole 9 yards, because I took action over peace. I thought one more deployment would make me feel better. One more of this would make me feel better. And I was chasing something, but I didn't look internal and I didn't chase my own peace. And it almost destroyed me. And then I finally, when I had my break and people helped me and stuff, I found my peace. I found my calmness, what I needed to find. But it was a 3-year disaster. Absolutely a 3-year disaster.
But would you pay 3 years again in order to be where you are right now?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that 3-year disaster. Because if I didn't go through that disaster, I can guarantee that I wouldn't be here now talking to you. I would have been that guy who goes off in the back of the base or whatever and ate a bullet. 100% I would have been that guy.
It would have been a week or 2 weeks. Been like, where's Jay?
Yeah.
Where's Jay? You know?
Man, that
And guys, like, and I'm always trying to tell this to the guys, to my mentees. It's just some time. It's going to cost you a little bit of time, but it's going to give you so much. I don't look at the 10 years as time lost. I look at it as perspective gained, as lessons learned, and it's now making the most of the time I have remaining. Like, what
hell
a
yeah.
gift that is.
Yeah.
To be present, and like that best gift I've ever received is that second chance.
To be present, to be at peace, and to be happy, man, that's worth like,
Weight
yeah,
in gold.
it is. And people are
Amen to
gonna
that, brother.
people are listening and they're gonna roll their eyes saying, "Oh, come on, everybody says that." But I'm telling you, peace and happiness is worth more than being rich and miserable. I could be rich and miserable, or I could be comfortable and at peace. And I'll choose comfortable and at peace, you know?
I think we got enough credibility though.
Yeah.
I think we got enough lived experience between the two of us to have some credibility.
Well, that's what I mean. Hopefully people, I just don't want people to make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you try to
Yeah,
tell
obviously.
people, try this because me and Tyson were idiots. We ran into the brick wall 20 times before we learned. We're trying to tell you, don't run into that brick wall. If you run into it once, learn and change real fast, you know? But me and Tyson were slow learners. We ran
Thick
into
heads,
that
bro.
brick
That's
wall.
why I got a thick head.
Don't be like us, you know?
So last part of the podcast today, can you share a personal story of someone in your life, like someone that maybe mentored you or helped you understand the importance of having a purpose? It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I know. I know.
You
Yeah.
know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. As much as you helped him, he helped you.
Tremendously. He saved my life easily,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's funny, and I don't think a lot of people understand that, but being a mentor to somebody, God designed us to serve others.
Yeah.
It's one of the, I mean, as a husband, I serve my wife. As a mentor, I serve my clients. Just because I'm telling you to do does not make me better than you, right? It's because I'm trying to help you.
Yeah.
Serving other people is life saving. It saved you. It saved me. So I know, like, I kind of figured that was going to be a hard question for you, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry that it was.
And I wish it wasn't. Like, I wish I could tell his story and everything. And
Yeah.
I probably will
Maybe
be
another
able to.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Down the line, it's just,
Yeah.
but so people know the person can be younger than you. Like the person who saved my life was 20 years younger than me. But when we met, we bonded and became best friends. And it was my best friend I ever had in my life and always will be. He saved me and he was 20 years younger than me. But sometimes life doesn't care who that person is or who that person you click with or age. The world doesn't care what age that person is and what age you are. It's just if you click with that person and then it goes great.
What's funny is you talk about that age difference. King David, do you know who his best friend was in the Bible?
Forget this one.
King Saul, who was just before the king just before David. His son Jonathan was supposed to take the throne, but David became king, and David's best friend, confidant, was Jonathan, and I don't know if it was 20, it might have been more than 20 years older. He was quite a bit older than David. That's absolutely right. Age doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Even young people can help older people. It's not so much in knowledge, it's the purpose given.
Yeah. It's,
V gave you purpose. He gave you that after you left the military, you had already had that bond, and now you had somewhere to put the energy.
yeah.
Teach.
Yeah. He brought out the happiness in me. And I loved teaching him everything I knew about life and about finance and helping him out with this and that, buying his first house, becoming a police officer and being his reference. Where they called me and asked me all about him and stuff like that. Yeah, it was best time of my life doing all that for him because he helped me out so much. He brought me back from the brink and saved my life. 100%.
One of the reasons I wanted you to do this podcast with me
Yeah.
is you are a great mentor. And I know you have such a wealth of life experience and information to share with our audience. So for me, I would say it was my uncle when he was helping me when I was in prison. Became probably my darkest moment when I was inside. It was, I think I was about 2.5 years or 3 years into my sentence. Time flies now, so it's hard to put an exact time, but it was early stage of my incarceration, and I had lost someone really close to me. It was my ex's brother had died of cystic fibrosis, and it was the first time that I felt, I think, just really alone, and I felt really helpless. And I think as men, we never want to feel that. By feeling weak and helpless, it's scary for us, especially in prison. It's one place where you don't want to have those emotions creep up. So it makes you vulnerable. It makes you like almost feel like you're a victim. And I remember my uncle, he was studying with me the Bible at this time. And I was trying to better my life a little bit, but you know what? Honestly, my heart wasn't in it at that point. I was just kind of doing it, to shut him up and shut my mom up and yeah, okay. I'll do it, whatever. And I'm actually glad I didn't hold my no on this. I was saying yes to other people to make other people happy, but I'm glad I did because it allowed me to receive the thing that changed my life. And when we were supposed to do our Bible study every Friday, and I received the news that Justin had died. I think it was on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Again, can't really remember always the days. And I called my uncle and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it this week. You could tell something was really off. He's like, hey, what's wrong? What happened? So I told him, like, someone close to me died. I just don't care. I was at a point at that moment when I found out that Justin died. I was just like, F it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I ever get out of here. And he said, okay. He's like, I'm gonna go get something. I'm gonna go get a riddle for you. I want you to wait a second. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna read it to you. I'm like, riddle? Go get your stupid riddle. Right. So we went and got this thing, and he came back to the phone and he read it to me. So I'm gonna read it to the audience now. I've shared it before, and I'm gonna always share it because I need everyone to understand that when you find your catalyst, that's your reason why. This is what shifted me to get my why, my true why. So who am I? I am your constant companion. I am your greatest helper or your heaviest burden. I will push you onward or drag you down to failure. I am completely at your command. Half the things you do, you might just as well turn over to me, and I'll be able to do them quickly and correctly. I am easily managed. You must merely be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want something done, and after a few lessons, I will do it automatically. I am the servant of all great men and, alas, of all failures as well. Those who are great I have made great. Those who are failures I have made failures. I am not a machine, though I work with all the precision of a machine, plus the intelligence of a man. You may run me for profit or run me for ruin. It makes no difference to me. Take me, train me, be firm with me, and I'll place the world at your feet. Be easy with me, and I will destroy you. Who am I?
Jeez. I don't know.
Take one or two guesses.
I was thinking of like the Lord, but no. I was thinking of like
I said that
you.
too. My first guess, Jesus?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking of the Lord, but God, I don't know. I'm stumped on that one. Kind of thinking like,
So I was like, Jesus, and then I was like, well, is it your heart?
well,
Right? Because
that's
then
what
I
I was thinking.
just
Like,
started
is
to
it
actually
you?
think about what it was saying. I'm like, no, it's
Yeah.
not It's not the Lord. No, he's not Jesus. No, I'm like, it's got to be something internal, right?
Yeah.
It can either be good or bad. So what's internal? I'm like, oh, it's my heart. And he's like, look, he's like, I'm not going to give you the answer now. He's like, I'm going to come visit you on Saturday and I'm going to give you the answer. And I'm like, I wasn't a patient person then, you know, and I'm like, tell me, I want to know what it is.
Yeah.
No. And I'm glad he didn't, because it allowed me to get my mind off of where I was. Because I was so focused on what he was kind of reading. I was like, what is it? Like, going over in my head. So finally on Saturday, I was actually really looking forward to his visit. I wanted the answer. So he came in to visit and he had 2 pieces of paper, one for him, one for me. So he gave me the riddle and he's like, okay, he's like, I'm going to read it again. So he read it again.
Right.
So I'm holding it now and I'm looking at it. I'm reading it intently and I'm like, it's your heart. So I was like, I'm sure it's your heart or your mind. It's one of the two.
Yeah. I was going to say courage.
The answer is habit. And he said, you know why? Because I was so mad, right? I was blaming God. I was like that. Like when I got that news, I was just like, you know, God's never answered my prayer. Like, I remember you know what that was like, right?
Yeah.
I needed to project. He's like, no, man. He's like, it's you. The reason why you've never had your prayers answered, reason why you are where you are is because of how you've lived, because your habits. He's like, you want different, you need to choose different. You want out of here, you need to start acting different. You need to start living different. Bro, that riddle changed my life.
Yeah.
It allowed me to shift from being a victim and to start taking actions that turned me into a victor. Victor of choice. I realized it all came down to me. So man, when it comes to what we've been talking about in this episode, finding your purpose, finding your why, it is a hard thing to do when you've been living the wrong way. The 10,000 hour rule, right? 10,000, you're proficient at doing the wrong thing, but it is not irreversible. Nothing is irreversible. Becoming the best version of ourselves sometimes comes at a really high price. Jay had to pay a price. I had to pay a price. So don't worry about what you've sacrificed. Just don't let that sacrifice be in vain. Don't let it be for nothing. This podcast is meant to give men their power and their purpose back. But that means you have to put in the work. Think of this as your blueprint, your correctional plan, gentlemen. But it's not to be done when you feel like it. It doesn't work that way. If you want freedom from your self-imposed prisons and limitations, then it's got to be done daily. Put in the work, and you will see the fruits of your labor. Don't, and stay a prisoner for the rest of your life. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to today's podcast. This is From Shadows of Strength, Tyson and Jay, signing out till our next episode.